40 times more at risk if you don't have a father at home. You know, you need a mother just as much as you need a father, just in different ways, and vice versa. The only poverty we have in the UK is a poverty of aspiration. The big charities in the UK are a huge problem. They are basically multinational companies who are ripping everybody off.
If a kid grows up with no father in the household,
No.
a certain amount of percentage worse. But if they grow up with no mother in the household, it actually doesn't change too much, which just shows how bloody important it is. You know, they didn't have a necessarily bigger struggle. Obviously, mother's super important. You learn compassion, you learn everything from your mother, don't you?
Yeah.
Plenty.
It's a bit more complicated than that, so
mother, but
let me explain that. So there's a stat in America, I've not done the work over here, but America and England are fairly similar.
Yeah.
If you don't have a father in the home, you're 40 times more at risk of abuse. Physical, mental, sexual, emotional abuse.
40 times?
Not 40%, 40 times more at risk.
Holy shit.
If you don't have a father at home. A father is your natural protector as a child. He's the one who looks after your house. People who want to do bad things to you, and you've got a father in the house, will go find a kid who hasn't got a father at home. Because when you mess with a child or anyone and there's a father at home, you risk violence. You don't know if that father's violent or not.
Yeah.
Why take the chance?
Yeah.
When there's a kid round the corner with no father at home. So we put our children at risk there. The stat about single mums and single dads is interesting. So the best way, all the stats say this in all countries, the most successful children are the children who are raised with their biological mother and father, who are married and live in the same house.
Yeah.
They raise the most positive citizens you can.
Yeah.
Next, that is single dads. And people go, I don't believe that.
No, I
Well,
was thinking that.
There's a reason for that. First of all, males are more likely to have better discipline and not take crap. But that's not as simple as that's not the answer. The answer is the men who are willing to be single dads are the best of men.
Yeah.
Because a lot of men walk away and abandon their children and abandon them and leave them with the mother. The mother might be good, average, bad, doesn't matter. She is abandoned with the children. It's only the top layer of men who go, I'm raising my child, I want to do it by myself. So that messes with the stats. It's not to say that fathers are better parents, or it's not to say mothers are worse parents. And we need to get away with the war of the sexes.
Best? Yeah. Fucking means
the answer's simple.
50-50.
No, the answer simple. Both of them aren't as good as a married man and woman living in the house.
That's what I mean by 50-50.
So we need them both in the house. It's not one or the other.
Yeah.
You know, you need a mother just as much as you need a father, just in different ways, and vice versa. This isn't a war of the sexes.
No.
If there's many animals who will impregnate the female, and last time they see the female, I think tigers do that. Many animals do that. We don't. And the reason why we don't is because our offspring need two parents to raise them. There's a reason why we have to do it. And we can see the results when we don't do it. Prisons are full of it. Something like 85% of all men imprisoned in the UK come from single parent households.
It's a wild statistic.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, actually wild.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And it's sad it's not always to anyone's fault as well, is it? Sometimes it happens. Obviously, there is a problem with.
It's always someone's fault. I'm not having people say it's no one's fault. It's always someone's fault.
Sorry, I mean, if father passes away or something
bereavement.
Rare.
Bereavement. Yeah.
Course,
There's no one's fault of bereavement. But when people say she's evil, I left my wife because she's evil, she's a Nazi, she's mental. Well, all that might be true, but she was like that when you met her.
Yeah.
So really, what you're saying is you're a poor judge of character. You didn't do the homework to vet your future wife who's going to bear your children. You didn't vet them good enough. The signs were there, but you were too busy getting pussy to care, weren't you? That was, at the end of the day, that's what was wrong.
Yeah.
You should have realised that you were going to spend the rest of your life with that woman. You should have picked a better woman.
So what you're saying is that you should always take 100% responsibility for everything that you do in your own life.
It's the only way you improve.
Yeah.
And same with women. I say to women all the time, oh, he's a pig, he's a cheater. Da, da. Oh, how did you meet him? Oh, he was going out with my friend and we had an affair. Well, you knew he was a cheater when you got with him, and didn't you? How could you cheat with him and then think he's going to be faithful to you? Yeah. So all the signals are always there, but we become too lazy, too self-centered, and the back of my mind all the time is, if I make mistakes, the state will sort it out. So it doesn't matter if I'm a single mum now, the state will pay all the bills. Doesn't matter if I get this crazy woman pregnant and walk away, the state will raise my children for me. The state keeps taking away our personal responsibility, and the more it does it, the more we keep making the wrong decisions because we don't have to take responsibility for our wrong decisions.
Yeah, it gives you an out, doesn't it? And
yeah.
You can walk away with you. Well, still shouldn't have your head held high, but some people might.
But now there's no social shame either.
Yeah.
No, I know people who have got multiple children by multiple women, and it's no social shame. Yeah. The next woman they meet doesn't even think it's wrong. So you know he's got 5 kids by 3 women, and now you're with him. Mm. Are you mental?
Are you
mental? What's so special about you that you're not going to end up the 4th one with the next 2 kids? What's special about you?
Is that because we were all told that we were special in school?
It's because there's no consequences to our actions. Mm. 150 years ago.
There is consequences to your actions, though, if you live your own life in your own way.
You have to explain that to me. Sorry.
So I don't know where I was going with that. I fucking hate anyone telling me what to do at any point. Yeah. I really don't take instruction very well at all.
No.
No.
Second, yeah.
But I can never understand why people would want someone to tell them how they can and can't live their life. It fucking baffles me.
It's because it makes your life easier. The second you take
it doesn't sound fun.
It's not fun. It's just easier.
Yeah.
It's worse. You become a slave, but it's easier. Isn't it easy being a slave? You get told when to wake up, when to go to sleep, when to eat, how to work, how long to... It's easy being a slave. It's not a nice life, but it's easy because you have no decisions.
That sounds harder than what I do, though.
In one way, it isn't, because they call it being institutionalized. So it happens with people in prison. So some people come out of prison and can't cope in the real world because I don't know how to make decisions, because everything's been done for me or done to me or for me, and I've just followed instructions. Not everybody's a leader. Not everybody has that get up and go about them. Most people are sheep, and that's not an insult to them. But most people, you can't have a tribe of leaders. They kill each other.
Yeah.
That's why there's only ever a small percentage of people in any group who are potential leaders. The rest are just quite happy following to a certain extent. And that's what happens when you're institutionalized. I've worked with lots of people sleeping on the streets, and that's really what happened to them. I call it learned helplessness. And what happens over decades is the state has intervened in their life from being a child. And every time there's a problem, the state jumps in and fixes it for them, or makes their decision for them, or takes their kids off them and now the kids are gone, or puts them in a B&B. But they never get to make choices and see what happens once they make a choice and where that leads to, and how then they can change that choice to go that direction. All their choices are done by other people, and over decades they become helpless.
Yeah. And
they can't make decisions for themselves, and they don't want to make decisions for themselves because they know, once I make this decision, if it goes wrong, it's my fault.
Yeah.
I'd rather not make the decision, because then I've left it to God. I've left it to the voodoo priestess. I've left it to, the 4-leaf clover. I've given my responsibility to something else. So if it goes wrong, it wasn't my fault. And lots of people want to live like that.
Yeah.
That blows my mind.
Yeah.
In my way of thinking, anyway.
Yeah.
But we've discussed it before, is society doesn't even run without them people now, does it? The people who are willing to get up in the morning, go do maybe a simple job because they don't want to pay any attention to anything.
Yes.
And they can shut their brain up and they can go and just do something. Job's a job. Every job's great. No judgment on that. But you need them people who can just crack on every day and just not really change it up. And you need that. But
Sounds fucking miserable.
yeah.
It
It does
does.
it does to us and to a lot of people because we couldn't do it, did they? But
No, but
It's a bit like, imagine a football team. You're not going to win any games if all 11 players are Ronaldo.
yeah,
you'd have a good chance, though.
I don't think you would. I don't
No,
think
I know
you
what
would.
you're saying.
But you're,
shit defence.
you need different people with different skills, with different temperaments, doing different things. And not everyone can be the striker, can be the one who goes and gets the ball and scores the goals. You need people who are doing other things. So we're all different.
So I suppose where I was going with that is like, how can you convince a population that is so used to being told what to do all the time that they should actually go out there and take responsibility for their own lives, and that you don't need a fucking government to tell you what to do with your life? And you know, how do you as a politician going forward try and convince that?
Well, I do it verbally.
Yeah.
You know, this is my mantra all the time. I've written books on it. But how do we do it to the country? I'm not going to talk I can't talk to 70 million
but
people.
it does need to happen nationally.
And that's through government policy. And it would have to happen over several decades.
Yeah.
It would have to be a long project. And it would start by making benefits harder to get. And if you can get them, not as lucrative.
Yeah.
It's about forcing people off sickness and off unemployment into jobs, any job. And if you don't do it, you get nothing. And
The jobs have been taken by a bunch of illegal immigrants that we've brought in. That's why the labour's so fucking cheap.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a different issue, but we do need to solve that. None of it's going to be simple, but it's about demanding people take more responsibility for their lives. We need to get rid of lots of laws. We need to stop, things like we need to stop feeding kids in 6 weeks holidays at schools.
The schools feed the kids now.
During 6 weeks holidays, yeah.
Do they fuck?
They do.
Is that true?
Yeah. Most schools now give all kids free breakfasts. Why? Because parents stop feeding their kids. So every time failing parents stop doing something, the government steps in and starts doing their job. So we're taking more and more responsibility away from parents. And some lazy parents go, "Oh, if you're going to be fed at school, well, just go to school and get fed. I don't have to get out of bed now either."
Yeah.
We need to force people to start being responsible for them and their families, especially their children.
Yeah.
But we keep taking it away all the time, and we tax people too much.
Yeah.
And that would be the incentive I would do. I'd say, you're all going to have a lot more responsibility. There's going to be less state services. But do you know what? Income tax has gone down to 8%.
Yeah.
I fucking wish.
That's what we need. We need to give them more money and say, you run your lives. We need certain services because I don't want people starving on the streets.
No.
But if you're not starving on the streets, then it's not our concern.
There has to be a mattress at absolute bottom.
There has to be
a mattress at absolute rock bottom for people.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to get to the stage where people living, and it happens now, living down the streets.
Yeah.
Last couple of months we've had two rough sleepers in Manchester City Centre die on the streets, and we're spending billions on everything. So we need to make sure people don't fall that low. But everyone else, it's like crack on.
Yeah.
You have people turn up at the council going, "We're overcrowded. There's 5 of us in this house." And 3 bedrooms and Well, do you know what? I would get rid of overcrowding. No such thing as overcrowding now. You live with your parents, or you live in there, it's overcrowded. Well, you think it's overcrowded, but there's no legal definition now of overcrowded. Sort your own shit out, people.
Yeah, it's your fucking life.
Stop coming to us asking for a council house where there's no council houses, and at least you've got a roof over your head, haven't you?
Yeah.
So that's...
Yeah.
So my granddad always tells stories that when he was a kid, they used to have the classic tramp would come through the farm, especially in the summer months, and they'd work through the hay timing season to stay in the hay barn, so they had somewhere to stay. Yeah. And he said that disappeared after the war.
Yeah, and to be fair, things like that. I'm glad we've got rid of that. That was real poverty. We don't have real poverty in the UK.
No,
we really don't. The only poverty we have in the UK is a poverty of aspiration. That's the only poverty we're lacking in the UK.
Can you explain that?
People have no aspiration now to do better themselves. to
Oh,
take
right,
control,
yeah.
to take charge. You know, we're always being told, you know, there's child poverty and this poverty and that poverty. None of it exists. It's all made up by socialists, sat in universities with equations and stats going, oh, if we do this and add that and take that away and multiply it by that, we can pretend that we've got 1.5 million poor children in the UK. Oh, let's put that out in the news and we'll get more money. Poverty does not exist in the UK the way most people think poverty is.
Yeah.
The legal definition of poverty in the UK is living in a household where the income is something like 40% less than the average income. That's called poverty. A child's living in poverty if they don't have access to a smartphone and don't go on at least one foreign holiday a year. That's called poverty. These are all legal definitions that the government abides to. So when you hear government stats about poverty or homelessness and stuff like that, those stats are meaningless because those titles don't mean what you think they mean.
Yeah. A lawyer has gotten hold of the word poverty.
It's charities.
Charities,
Charities in the big charities in the UK are a huge problem. They are basically multinational companies who are ripping everybody off. And I should know, I've ran a charity.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Charities. So let's look at one of the kids' charities about reducing poverty and stuff like that. So they had a definition of what poverty was. Suddenly in the 80s, it's like, oh shit, we've got there. Right, what are we going to do? Well, we could close down and we all could be made redundant and we could give our pensions up and there's no more easy work, or...
Charities give out pensions to their workers?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Really good pensions.
And
That seems outrageous.
Well, they're an employer, though, aren't they, technically? Yeah.
So
Yeah, government pension, but surely...
No, the private pensions in charities. Mm-hmm. Every employer now, by law, has to have a pension.
Yeah.
And I've got no problem with paying... If you work for a charity, well, it's a job. Just like a nurse or doctor's a job.
Yeah.
You should be paid if you're doing a good job, and you should have a pension. I ain't got a problem with any of that.
I was thinking as a volunteer.
Volunteers get nothing.
Right.
But they look like in the 80s, we've solved poverty in the UK, child poverty. Unless we redefine what poverty means.
Yeah.
Oh, we can go on again for another 20 years, can't we?
And then they keep moving the goalposts.
And they keep moving the goalpost all the time. And that's what happens with all these big charities. They're a scam.
So why do we never hear about this sort of stuff?
Because nobody wants you to know. The governments don't want the hassle. Mm-hmm. Because the governments go, oh, we've given money to these charities to solve these issues. So we're good guys, aren't we?
Yeah, so we've done our job.
We've done our job. It looks like we're doing something. The charities then make sure they send out good signals of, look what we're doing, we've helped this child, and everyone feels a little bit better. They achieve nothing, but everyone feels a little bit better.
Yeah.
That's a charity sector for you. Not all charities.
No.
Small charities do great work, and people ask me all the time, I want to donate to a charity. And you should. Find a small local charity where you live doing something you care about. Is it donkeys? Which I hate people giving money to animal charities. I don't care about animals. But if you want to do that, then do that. Yeah. But look for something small where you live. Sponsor a local youth club. Sponsor a local, homeless kitchen providing food, or a food bank. It's things you can do. And even if it's only £2-3 a month, direct debit, that helps. If people do that, that's regular money coming into those charities. But do it for small local charities. Never give money to any of the big charities. Never give money to Comic Relief. Never give money to Children in Need, because you're giving it to a middle person who takes a slice off.
And you've got 20 big cats sat there taking.
And then they divide that to other smaller charities. So forget slicing it off. Give it straight to the small charities.
Yeah.